have turned to Illegal Curve Hockey as your destination for the latest news, audio, and analysis regarding the Winnipeg Jets, Manitoba Moose, and all things hockey in Manitoba. Join Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and Drew Mandel as a special edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show starts now.
Good evening, good afternoon, Winnipeg, good afternoon, Manitoba, for all those joining us live in downtown Winnipeg at Cityplace. 333 St. Mary Avenue up in the food court, and all those joining us live on our social media platforms. We say good afternoon and welcome to the Illegal Curve pregame show. First time we've ever tried one of these pregame shows. Thrilled to be here, excited about it. The energy is palpable in the building as the Jets and the Avalanche are 2 hours away from puck drop. Game one, the whiteout is getting to be in full force, both down here at Cityplace, all around the city. You can feel the excitement building as the Jets and the Avalanche set to do battle in just a mere couple of hours' time, along with Dave Manouk, the hatless Dave Manouk, I might add.
The chat is already noticing.
There you go. Dave not wearing a hat. It's rare to see that. Ezra Ginsburg is wearing a hat, so there you go. That's a little bit reassuring. I am your host, Drew Mandel. We are live, like I said, here on the second floor of Cityplace, getting you set for the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. Gentlemen, great to see you again on this Saturday afternoon. I'll be perfectly honest. We're going to start with the big news.
Drew, sorry to interrupt you, but the chat wants to know, is Ezra selling hot dogs in the food court?
Not at the moment, but don't give him any ideas.
I won't be selling the hot dogs, but I'll be eating the hot dogs.
There you go.
Drew was talking about the excitement being palpable, and that's just for McDonald's right beside us here, right?
Hold on. Big shout out to Ken Gardner from North Dakota.
Yeah, Ken Gardner's here at the second floor of Cityplace.
KG3, as you know him, but he's won the Illegal Curve contest so many times. I asked him why he wasn't wearing a toque, and rightly so. He said it's a little warm for toque. So, but Ken, he's here. He said hello, and we appreciate that.
Not quite toque weather in beautiful downtown Winnipeg today, which the weather is perfect for, of course, a whiteout party that's going to be happening downtown. You can feel that just looking around the food court here in Cityplace, the number of Jets jerseys, everybody is just totally ready for the game. Everyone's got their game faces on, as this is going to be, I'm certain, going to be a very entertaining contest later on this evening between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. But really, the news, it was just yesterday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., the Illegal Curve Hockey Show Saturday morning, where we did our comprehensive preview of the Jets and the Avalanche series, and almost at the same time that the game, that the show ended, mere minutes later, the news came out that Jonathan Drouin of the Colorado Avalanche, who has turned into a key contributor on that team, is out for the first round of the playoffs. He's out for all the games between the Jets and the Avalanche, no matter how long that series lasts, having been injured in a meaningless contest at the end of the year between the Avs.
All those games meaningless.
Well, that one, I'll tell you what, that one wasn't meaningless anymore. It now had a lot of meaning because it cost the Avalanche Jonathan Drouin. Let's talk about the impact of that loss, because really the storyline, or one of the storylines entering the series, is about the Jets' depth and the Avs' lack thereof, and this is a big blow when you lose a key member of their top six.
Yeah, it's a big blow, and we talked about Drouin yesterday on the Saturday morning show about his career year, right? Mm-hmm. We know the history with Nathan McKinnon, the Halifax Mooseheads, right? And so I don't think a lot of people thought Zach Parise was going to be on the top line of the Colorado Avalanche because of course, Parise wasn't even on the Avalanche to start the season, right?
Right.
So it looks like Parise is going to take Jonathan Drouin's spot on the left side there with Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen. And what that does, guys, is it allows them to keep the Arturi Lehkonen, Casey Mittelstadt, Valerie Nichushkin line together, right? That's been a really good line for the Avalanche. But you're absolutely right, Drew, and you mentioned on yesterday's show we spent quite a bit of time talking about the depth. I just don't think that, I mean, of course Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen, they're both 100-point plus guys, right? In McKinnon's case, he's got a good shot to win the Hart Trophy, right? The Jets don't have any 100-point guys, but I think it's when you get down to the third and the fourth lines, and we know how successful Lowry, Appleton, and Nino Niederreiter have been, and we learned yesterday, and it was no surprise that David Gustafsson is going to fill in for Morgan Barron with Vlad Namestnikov and Alex Iafallo, but you're absolutely right. I mean, it's not necessarily a weakness that you can exploit. Zach Parise, he might be 39 years old. He's a good player. But what that does is it just puts more pressure on Rantanen and McKinnon and obviously Cale Makar on the back end. And we should mention, Devon Taves had 50 points this year, Dave.
Yeah.
So he's not just a one-trick pony. He's not just a defensive defenseman. But I think that that's a huge blow. And it's funny because as Drew mentioned, we did a whole 2 hour and 15-minute preview of the series. And then we found out like 10 minutes after the show ended that Drouin was going to be out. So obviously it's unfortunate news for the Avalanche. But good news for Jared Bednar and the rest of the Avalanche is that it looks like Sam Girard, who was concussed against the Jets in that 7-0 win, or I guess
8 days
loss
ago.
for the Avalanche. Looks like Girard's going to be back on on defense. Caleb Jones was filling in for him.
Yeah, so Girard took the morning skate, and of course we'll bring you all the latest news if there is any news that comes out over the next, from the warm-up in the next 90 minutes or so that we're doing this Illegal Curve pregame show live on location here at Cityplace, second floor at 333 St. Mary Avenue. But this is a massive loss for the Colorado Avalanche. Jonathan Drouin really rejuvenated his career this year, Dave, playing with Nathan McKinnon and the chemistry that, as he alluded to, the history that the two of them have. And Zach Parise, again, with all due respect to him, great career, tremendous career, in Minnesota, tremendous career wherever he was, New Jersey, before that. But this is a guy who wasn't on a team to start the year. This is the end of his career. He said that this is, the final, stanza in his career, the final chapters being written.
Yeah.
And now that he's having to play in that elevated role, not to say that he can't do it, not to say that he won't necessarily have some success, but he's not Jonathan Drouin, and he's being asked to play in a role that's probably higher than he should be playing at this stage of his career.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that, Drew. And look, the fact is we talked about the Colorado Avalanche, and one of the things we said is they have the best forward in this game, but they also don't have the depth that the Jets have.
Right.
And so when you lose a player like Jonathan Drouin, who you can't underscore, and I joke when as he left my place after doing the Illegal Curve Hockey Show yesterday, I said, wait a second, I think we need to do a pop-up show, because he hadn't even gotten into his car, and when the news kind of came out, could have at least released it so we could have finished the show with that bombshell. But it is a huge blow for Colorado, and you can't underscore it, because, the Jets, you have that impact, and one of the things we've talked about with this team has been the benefit of having a deep bench.
Right.
You can go to guys who are like David Gustafson is filling in for Morgan Barron, and we don't know the depth of his injury. We don't know how long Morgan Barron is going to be out for. We'll have to wait to see the next time the Jets skate as to whether he'll be skating with the team. He has not skated with them yet, and Drew's fan base is yelling at him right now.
I'm getting heckled already.
Mandel
It's good.
Mafia's here.
But the fact is
The
that
Mandel Mob is what we prefer for them to be called.
But the fact is that, I think this is a big loss for Colorado, says Captain Obvious.
Yeah.
And, the Jets are going to have to take advantage of it. You don't get it. You have to deal with the blows when they come. And this is an unfortunate one. And, Drew, you said it was a meaningless game. Well, as you said, it turned into a meaningful game for Colorado, and now they're going to have to adjust accordingly. And if you're the Winnipeg Jets, Ezzy, you got to figure a way to continue to take advantage of a lack of depth of Colorado.
Yeah, sure. And I think what's interesting to note here, one thing to follow, not just for the series, but even Game 1, Valeri Nichushkin has played on the top line. He's on the left wing. So I think if that line is really faltering, like they did in that 7-0 loss,
Just load up the top line is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then Parise jumps down. Miles Wood is currently on the third line. Miles Wood plays on the left side, so Miles Wood is an option there. But to Drew's point, Jonathan Drouin was your kind of quintessential reclamation project. Drouin is a guy who, he played on Montreal. He's played on some other teams. He's a high pick. What was he, third overall, Dave?
Yeah.
Fourth overall. We were at that draft, right? So, Drouin has had a bit of an up and down career, and, he's been found money, I guess, for lack of a better term, with McKinnon on that top line and Rantanen, right? So I won't be surprised, guys, if Nichushkin at some point in the series, maybe as early as, tonight, is bumped up to the top line if, Parise's maybe not working out there. We should mention he had 21 goals on the Islanders. So I'm with Drew. Going from Zach Parise on your top line from Jonathan Drouin, it's a downgrade, but I'm just saying Parise is a smart player, and he's not a schlub. That's all I'm saying. Not like us. So it's one thing to note here, what happens on that left side if they put Nichushkin up there, Miles Wood. should mention Joel Kiviranta.
Yeah.
If you remember back
In the bubble
when he came in for Dallas, he scored the big goal.
Didn't he have 4 goals in one game in the
Something like
playoffs
that.
in the bubble for the
I
Stars?
thought it was a hat trick, but it could have been 4 goals.
Yeah.
But again, if you put the Jets' forward depth up against the Avalanche, we got a Leafs fan here. I don't think he's that happy after the 5-1 loss to the Bruins last night. But when you go forward by forward, and we've talked about it, right? Guys like Vlad Namestnikov is a guy that's played on the Jets' second line. Morgan Barron has spent a little bit of time in the top 6. Alex Iafallo has spent a little bit of time in the top 6. So the fact that you have these guys on the fourth line just shows you, I think, how much better the forward depth is. And then, if you want to get into the defense, the Jets don't have a Cale Makar. They don't have a Devon Taves. They happen to have a Josh Morrissey. And obviously, Sam Girard being healthy is huge because he's on that second pair with Josh Manson. So, it's an advantage for the Jets when it comes to their forward depth. But we know that the Avalanche are still deep. They've got a great group of defensemen. And, Alexander Georgiev is obviously, a step below Connor Hellebuck, just based on the way he's played as of late. He's had a bit of an up and down year, so that's a huge advantage for the Jets. But, again, it goes back to what we said before. These two teams only finished 3 points apart during the regular season.
Right.
So it's going to, as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be at least a 6-game series here.
Look, we know the battle here between the two teams. We're just, if you don't mind, we're just trying to do the show. That's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. The battle between these two teams and how close it's going to be. But I do think right now the mental edge, I think, does belong to the Winnipeg Jets. For entering in today's game, I do think that
my beautiful kids just walked into.
There you go, and your beautiful
Cityplace Food Court, and
your beautiful
my
wife
beautiful
too.
wife. I should
don't
probably
forget about your wife
well.
there.
Yeah.
She can hear you when you just said the beautiful kids. But I do think that the Jets are mentally in a better spot right now entering this series than the Colorado Avalanche are. Starting tonight, I think the Jets have the confidence and the belief in themselves way more than the Avs. I think there's more questions surrounding the Colorado Avalanche right now. Their goaltending situation is a tremendous factor, I believe, in that it doesn't sound like Bednar, Jared Bednar, is that confident in his goaltending options right now starting this series.
It kind of reminds you, Drew, a little bit of, I don't know if you guys thought of this, because obviously there have been a lot of teams over the years who haven't had a clear-cut number one goaltender like Hellebuck. It reminds you back last time the Jets had the long run with Philip Grubauer and Braden Holtby.
Sure.
You remember Grubauer started the playoffs for the Washington Capitals. It was Braden Holtby who obviously came in, I forget if it was game 2 or game 3, and he ended up obviously winning the cup with the Capitals. So it kind of reminds you a little bit of that, but you forget Justus Annunen is only 24 years old. So I don't know how much, I think it's been confirmed that Georgiev is going to play, but I think they were considering Annunen to start game 1, which is crazy.
Well, that tells you just how shaky Georgiev is right now with regard to the Colorado Avalanche and everything else. That they just don't have any confidence that he can make a save when they absolutely need him to make a save. And that's, not an issue that the Winnipeg Jets have with Connor Hellebuck or anything along those lines. They know that Hellebuck is going to be the rock in net for them. When it comes to Georgiev, there's no confidence that he can make that save necessarily. Now, he can start and he can maybe, get into a better mindset and in a better position. But, until that happens, what confidence do you have? Look at his numbers over the last month. I mean, they've been talked about ad nauseum. The numbers are just absolutely atrocious. So the Jets, we know that they have an advantage. Even if Georgiev was playing at his best, the Jets have that advantage. Yeah. And that's really, I think, a huge part of the mental factor that's going into this game to start. I do believe the Jets have that level of excitement necessary and the level of, you just read the post-game, the comments this morning, Dave.
Yeah. Mason
Appleton sounds like he's ready to run through a wall to begin with.
Doesn't sound like a fraud to me.
No, I mean, there you go. You mentioned the fraud, so let's piggyback off that. We remember a number of months ago that it was Ryan Whitney on Spittin' Chicklets said, that a player had told him, or had said to him, had remarked to him, that the Jets...
A Western Conference player
in a Conference
spot.
player. There you go. So an opponent, a chief opponent of the Winnipeg
Apparently
Jets.
they revealed who that player is. It was actually Josh Manson.
Oh, No, you're just joking.
I'm
Okay, that was a
wait,
joke.
what?
Yeah,
and like as he's saying this, I'm like, wait, is this breaking news?
No,
'Cause I have
no.
no
It's
idea.
not Josh Manson. Let's not start a controversy there. We have no idea who it was. My guess was Jack Eichel. So maybe the Jets and the Golden Knights will meet next round. We have no idea.
We don't need to play the guessing game. But there was a player in the Western Conference, an opponent of the Winnipeg Jets, who said the Jets were the biggest frauds in the league.
Yeah.
And the players, I'll give the Jets credit. You didn't hear a lot of response to that comment until today. Nikolaj Ehlers, in his pregame media availability and his after morning skate, came out and said, yeah, we heard those comments. Yes, we're using those as motivation. The Jets say, you think we're the biggest frauds? We're going to prove you wrong. And that's why I get the feeling this Jets team is ready to they want the puck to drop already.
Yeah.
They want it to be 6 o'clock right now. They're geeked up and ready to go, and they're ready to just jump and get a good response in front of the hometown.
The only thing is, sorry, Dave, I'll let you jump in here. The Jets have to watch the pregame show first.
That's right. The Jets are watching
so then
us.
they can play, but they have to watch us here, pick up something from Tim Hortons, McDonald's, whatever.
Yes.
And then they can go play.
There
Go
you
ahead,
go.
Dave.
Yeah, no, and I like that the chat figured out that Ezzy had a unwelcome visitor, but we managed to have that dealt with. So appreciate Ez's professionalism.
He was a nice guy. I mean, he had a Leafs hat on. That was maybe the worst part about it.
Yes.
But no, he was a nice guy. I mean, I think he might have had a little bit too much to drink. As Colby, our photographer / videographer, walks in.
There we go.
But it's all good. People are excited, as Drew mentioned. It's game 1, whiteout, home ice advantage. But yeah, continue on, Dave.
No, but anyways, I think that we've been talking about this, and we joked how someone's like, well, maybe the players don't know.
Players know everything.
Players know everything. They hear everything. They read it all. They can tell you that they don't. It's not true, especially in a Canadian market where there's people live and breathe this stuff. They know what's being said, and especially with former players, right? Ryan Whitney, former player. Paul Bissonnette, former player. So that kind of talk gets out there in and amongst them. And fine, it's good. And we talked about it, whenever it came out, we didn't spend a lot of time discussing it, but one of the things we said was this can be a motivator. This can be something they can use. And I'm with Drew. This seems like a very motivated, a very hungry group. Mm-hmm. So I'm not terribly surprised that I don't think that they needed this extra motivation. I just think it's providing a little more fodder for them, a little more to get them sort of activated and excited. But again, like I said, to me, the impression I've gotten, and I wasn't at morning availability today, but I will say that to me, like,
Did you sleep in, Dave?
I was going to say, slacker.
I know.
You're at every morning availability for 82 games. You're at every Moose
Disappointing
availability.
Illegal Curve Nation.
And the
Amazing,
playoff
Dave.
to the game is the one you take
worry,
off.
I'll be there. Don't worry, guys. But hey, come on. We've got a pregame show. We got a hockey game to cover. We got a postgame show. We don't know how long.
You
that's
forgot the
gonna
first
go.
intermission show, though.
Yeah.
Dave forgot. Drew forgot to tell you that.
So-
we've got a first intermission show.
So
We
anyway,
don't. He's kidding. We want to stay a little bit married. Not a lot married, just a little bit married.
But the point I'm making is that this is it was something they were going to use. We knew that they would try and use it. And again, like I said, I just got the impression from this club is that they're hungry, they're ready to go, and I'm with you, Drew. I think they're going to pounce, and they're going to be ready for the Colorado Avalanche tonight. And again, like I said, I'm not expecting them to sweep, but I expect a very hard, very motivated Winnipeg Jets club for the entirety of the series, entirety of the playoffs, to be honest with you.
It's amazing what confidence can do, and I feel that this Winnipeg Jets team, and of course confidence can be fleeting, so that there's the asterisk next to the comment I'm about to make, but to me this Winnipeg Jets team seems about as confident as we've seen all season long. You come into the playoffs winning 8 in a row. You've sort of reaffirmed yourself after a bit of a blip, but even the blip wasn't a significant blip. It's not like they were a bottom-feeding team during that blip.
They had that win in Nashville. That could have been a blip as well, right?
Right. But they were, they were a 500 team even when they were in their doldrums this season. Yeah. They were largely a 500 team. So you play well and you're elevating your game to start. Then you dip down a little bit. Now that you're ramping up back to the playoff time, you're ramping up your game again. To me, they seem confident, and I don't think there's anything that's really going to phase them in the sense that they know how they have to play to succeed. And Rick Bowness sort of said that again earlier today or in yesterday's availability, whenever it was, that last year starting the playoffs, he wasn't sure that they knew how they had to win, that they knew what they needed to do to win. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not directly quoting him here. And I think that is a huge difference. This Jets team knows the blueprint. They understand the blueprint. They know what their game needs to look like. And now the question is, can they execute it? But I do believe that they're in the right mindset necessary to be able to execute it, Ezzy.
I would agree with that 100%, and specifically in their season series versus the Colorado Avalanche. We know how successful they've been. What is it, 17 goals for, 4 against, something like that. Obviously, the 7-0 win stands out in everybody's mind because it was just, less than a week and a half ago.
8 days ago.
Right? So I do agree with the confidence. And, regardless if, in terms of what the national media thinks of this series, the Jets might be an underdog. Dave M. mentioned this on yesterday's show. The Jets seem to succeed the most when they're the quote-unquote underdog. But
nobody believes in us. The nobody believes in us factor in sports is a strong one.
I would agree with that. But to me, the Jets are the favorite in this series. And
especially without Drouin for Colorado.
And I had them as a pretty big favorite with Drouin in the lineup and with Sam Girard in the lineup. Obviously, Gabe Landeskog's not an option here. We mentioned that yesterday. But for those who, are maybe just tuning in now or didn't listen to the show yesterday, the Avalanche captain, Gabe Landeskog, has been skating for the last few months, but he's not going to be an option in this round or possibly any other round.
I don't see it as an option. Look, I don't see Colorado going far enough. Even if they were to defeat the Jets, I don't see them going far enough to that Gabe Landeskog is going to be a legitimate option. Unfortunately, it's hard to believe he's going to be a legitimate option at any point during the rest of his career.
Well, I don't know about that.
I mean, he's missed 2 years now.
He has missed 2 years. I just don't know. I mean, it's possible. Hopefully it's not. I mean,
you never want somebody to suffer.
He's had a great career. So if he can't play this year in the playoffs, Drew, hopefully he's ready to go come October.
Always.
But again, we'll have to wait and see here. I obviously don't know enough about it, but I think the biggest thing, in this series is not only harnessing the energy that you're going to get from the home crowd in game one, but I also think it's sticking to a certain style of play that the Jets clearly showed for the majority of this 8-game winning streak, but there was that period from kind of mid-January to late March where it was kind of like win a couple, lose a couple, win 2, lose 1, win 3, lose 2, that type of thing.
Right.
And that's when you saw the Jets get into the kind of bad turnover game, and that's when you saw the 5-on play.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the Jets, I think it's key, more so probably for the Jets than any other team that's playing at home in the first round, is to get on the Avalanche right away.
Yes.
Hopefully, you can't expect to score 4 goals like they did in Denver in the first period. They're going to obviously try, but you want to pop in a couple goals in the first period.
Yes.
You want to get on them. We talked about it. The pressure game's huge. If it's the Lowry line, whether it's the Monahan line or the Scheifele line, you want to be putting pressure on those Avalanche defensemen. We talked about it with Teddy Wyman on yesterday's preview show, right? That game in Denver against the Avalanche defense were just caved in. Like, they didn't have time to break out and really get anything going offensively. They were caved in, and that's what resulted in them taking a couple penalties. The Jets score a couple power play goals. So, yeah, if you're the Jets, you want to, and this goes without saying, any team wants to do this, whether they're at home or on the road. But I think especially with the Jets and the way they've played the Avalanche this year, we know you get a couple goal lead, and then you kind of just ride that wave. We know that Hellebuck, in 50 of his 60 starts, allowed 3 goals or less, Dave. So most likely, if you're going to score 3 goals, Connor Hellebuck's going to do the rest of the work, and, he's going to keep it a relatively low-scoring game.
And you talk about goaltending, and that's certainly a big factor. We're live here, the Illegal Curve pregame show prior to the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. We're live at Cityplace, 333 St. Mary Avenue, right next to Canada Life Center. We're on the second floor set up here. You got the Za Pizza Bistro. There's tons of food options available for you. Restaurants on both levels are open. So here in the food court, tons of options galore. And of course, downstairs on the main floor.
I'm surprised you're not sampling everyone and then walking up to Ezzy and I and just
handing out samples.
Drew's already had 4 surf and turf burgers. It's the McDonald's retro menu, and Drew's all over that.
Our friends downstairs as well on the main floor, A&W, Freshie, Bodego's, Boston Pizza, where we're going to be for Game 3. Boston Pizza, the one on Taylor
Avenue.
I
think Bodego's actually messaged us on Instagram.
Yes.
They said they're going to put us on their TV, which is nice of them to do. So
there you go.
I wish I could eat all of my meals in a food court.
I'm surprised you don't, to be perfectly
honest.
honest.
Well, your wife is here. Let's ask Neo if you could do that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure she's willing to let you live in the food court if you keep this up.
I didn't see what they got. I thought they were for sure going to get McDonald's, but they might have stopped off for Little Timmy's.
Yeah, they might do both. You never know, as the stranger things have happened. But you talk about goaltending. You talk about the sort of what I believe the Avs have to have a lack of confidence in their goaltending. In that, that
was a big subject of conversation in the Denver Post.
Right.
Just to, if you read the morning papers, there goes Colby Spence. He's going to go get some flavor out at the whiteout. So
Make sure you're following us on all our social media platforms, our Instagram in particular, at Legal Curve, for some great photographs of the party that's going on outside of Cityplace here, the whiteout and everything else, and the party and the vibe in here is great as well.
We're vibing, Drew.
Yes, we're vibing, we're grooving, we're doing everything under the sun. So wherever you may be joining and tuning in from, we are thrilled you're with us here for the Illegal Curve pregame show. And then, of course, we remind you after the game tonight, the Illegal Curve postgame show. So tons of Illegal Curve content coming your way. And of course, for those of you who are live here at Cityplace, be sure over here in the big poster behind us, as you can see behind Dave and Ezzy over here, there's a QR code. Be sure to scan that QR code. That takes you right to our YouTube channel, and you can just subscribe and be sure that you never miss an episode and never miss a show here of the Illegal Curve broadcast, be it our Saturday show, our pregame shows coming to you live here from Cityplace, or our postgame shows
Shout
as
out
well.
Booth 1B, Ken Gardner, KG3.
There you go. Ken is over here. There you go. That's right. He's got private seating. He brought his own, he's got red velvet curtains around him and everything.
We're
I had
huge
no
in
idea.
North Dakota. Huge.
We are huge in North Dakota.
I think both Dakotas, actually.
South
Dakota,
South Dakota too? Yeah, there
I
you go.
prefer North Dakota.
They like me in the Badlands, I'm going to tell you that.
There you go. I'm pretty sure they're carving a new Mount Rushmore out of you, aren't they?
Oh.
You're the 5th president on there?
People are talking.
Yeah, president of Illegal Curve.
You,
Dave
Dan
Minogue.
Fink, Dan Robertson, and Colby.
There you go. It's a beautiful crowd right there. Great crowd here at Cityplace as well, getting you set for the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. I'll tell you what, gentlemen, Murat Ates is going to join us to preview the series even
By the way,
further.
Josh Merton says we're big in Michigan.
We're big in Michigan, too. There you go. We're huge in the Dakotas and Michigan. I'm sure in Minnesota as
Dave,
well.
you've still got your Michigan driver's license, right?
Yep, even though I never got one, but sure.
Why not? We'll head to break. Murat Ates up next for more Jets Avalanche preview. We are live at Cityplace, 2nd floor, attached to the Canada Life Center. Don't go anywhere. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, live on this special Sunday edition, the Illegal Curve pre-game show.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rollies Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whiten my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go,
We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs, from restorative to cosmetic dentistry, and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
It's all over, folks, and the run has come to an end.
You'll be so far away.
A Canadian team hasn't won the Cup in over 30 years. And the Cup will stay south of the border. Maybe it's time we try something different. This playoff season, let's cheer with the fans we've always cheered against. Team up for the Cup at Boston Pizza.
We did it again!
You're on fire, man.
There's power in a handshake after a great game or great deal. It shows professionalism and respect. Two qualities Zappia Group Realty take pride in. You don't build a business where 95% of your clients are referred by others without honesty, integrity, and total dedication to client satisfaction. To sell your home for more in less time, shake hands with Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Get started at zappiagroup.com.
Illegal Curve pregame show. Drew Mindell, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg, and look at that, three-piece suits channeling Claude Noel from back in the day. Murat Ates of The Athletic joining the show now. Looking good as always. A pleasure to see you. Hang on. For the people on the internet, I'm waving at you right now.
Everybody sees this.
There you go. I'm waving. I would get up and I would hug right now, but it's I'd have to lean over Dave and Ezzy, and this is a rickety setup at best. So I don't want to do anything that might damage it. But we're live here, the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're in this food court, second floor, Cityplace, 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to the Canada Life Center, talking about the Jets and the Avalanche. Game time coming up in about 90 minutes. Murat, the excitement level, you can feel it. It's bubbling over. It's exciting here in the mall. It's exciting outside on the streets everywhere in the city of Winnipeg. Is this level of excitement? From my perspective, I want your opinion. We've all been doing this for a lot of years. Last year when the Jets snuck into the playoffs, I didn't feel the same level of belief maybe that we're seeing this year. What's your sort of vibe that you're feeling as you've been walking around the city and talking to people and sort of getting the feel for the scene that's getting closer and closer to reality?
I'm a big vibes guy.
Yeah.
Real big vibes guy. And I'm with you, though. I have to admit, I'm 100% with you. I have been clocking the difference in how I feel internally compared to last year. I think there's a sense of belief. The team has played so well down the stretch. There's less stumbling in. There's no need to find their game. They have their game. And you can see it in the interactions. I mean, I've just been cruising around before I came to talk to you guys here. The crowd is already feeling good. And it's lifting my mood. Like the amount of times that I've repeated to myself, best time of year, best time of year, best time of year. And I don't think I felt that same way last year right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're onto something. Last year is sort of, this felt more like the grind, like you're just continuing sort of the dog days of summer, the hockey equivalent of the dog days of summer when the playoffs are supposed to be the best time of year, and that's sort of the excitement level that I'm sensing in and around here at the mall, everywhere else. People believe in this Winnipeg Jets team, and the Jets themselves. I mean, the comments this morning coming out of the dressing room, I mean, I was on your Twitter feed, the Mason Appleton, I mean, it sounded like Mason Appleton was going to lift you up and body slam you. He was so geeked up and ready to go. I mean, everything about the vibe from the room seems way different, almost 180 degrees from where it was last year at this time.
He called it the hungriest group of Winnipeg Jets that he'd ever been a part of, for one. So that really stood out. And then he had a monologue that I thought I was getting fired up standing there. And Mason Appleton was talking about how at this time of year, all the personal stuff goes away. The individual stuff goes away. We're in it for each other. We'll run through a wall for each other. And I'm getting there kind of getting goosebumps as this scrum goes on. But I think that it's sincere. I think that, one, it's earned. 8-game winning streak heading into the playoffs. That line with Lowry, Niederreiter, and Appleton has been effective all season long. Mason himself has unfinished business, though, too, right? Because last year at this time, they got into the stretch run feeling good. That trio did, but injuries broke them apart. And I think that he feels that there's more left on the table that he could have accomplished, that they could have accomplished last year. So there's been so much build-up to this. The team is healthy. The team is winning. The team's on a roll. There's a lot going.
Murat, the one thing we talked about earlier before you got here was the idea of fraud and the fact that they talked about, when we've talked about this, whenever the comments came out on the Spitting Chicklets podcast, but we heard Nikolaj Ehlers talk about it for the first time today. What was your takeaway? Did you think, and Drew and I and Ezzy were talking about this, felt like this team was already motivated, not that they needed additional, but do you think that just provided a little additional fodder for a group that's already, like we said, demonstrated a level of hunger we haven't seen before?
It might. It really has to. I think so. I don't want to overcharacterize it because Nick Ehlers, what he really said was that you guys all know the comments that I'm talking about. And he was asked the frauds ones. Yes. He didn't say we've got it literally posted on our bulletin board. He didn't say that we're frothing at the mouth to just get after these guys because somebody doubted us. But I think any good Winnipegger, and these guys, and Ehlers is a longtime Winnipegger at this point, they know what it's like to be counted out. They know what it's like to be discounted or underrated. They know what it's like when the national media overlooks you until there's a season ticket crisis, and then all of a sudden they're out in droves, right? So I think that one more really loud, influential voice like that Spittin' Chicklets pod that was throwing the doubt their way, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little something to that.
Murat Ates, our guest. This is the Illegal Curve pregame show. Sunday afternoon, we're getting you set for the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. 6 o'clock puck drop. We're live here at the second floor, Cityplace, up in the food court. Come join us. Lots of people milling around. Jets jerseys everywhere that you can see. People chanting, "Go Jets, go," as they walk by. There you go. It's a great atmosphere here. Murat Ates, like I said, our guest. As you go ahead.
Yeah, I thought it was my turn, and Murat's going microphone freestyle, so I'm going to go a little freestyle here. We obviously just found out less than 20 or a little bit over 24 hours ago, actually, Jonathan Drouin's not going to be available for the whole series, and we were discussing it, and obviously that's a disadvantage for the Colorado Avalanche. I guess the question is, in your mind, how big of a disadvantage, how much of an advantage, I guess, does that give the Jets? Because as far as I'm concerned, I already had the Jets as a pretty big favorite in the series before we learned that Drouin was going to be out for the whole series.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the analytics on this via Domlus Chishin. Hope I said his name right. But,
you work with him. I hope you got his name right.
I can spell his name by heart. Just
Dom Lucian and Curtis Lashishin, right?
I mean, yeah, that's a mission to, I don't know. I'm not a freestyler, as you can see. But he posted that the absence of Drouin actually, for his model, changes it from a Colorado Avalanche slight favorite to a Winnipeg Jets slight favorite. There is a movement on that. And I think that, first of all, he's an impactful player. He has found himself, he had a career year, I think, for Colorado this year. Yeah. Reunited with Nathan McKinnon at times playing on that line. Effective on the power play, too, where Colorado had so much success. But it's also a vibes thing. Remember, a year ago now, Nikolaj Ehlers, game 81, right? That Minnesota Wild. Ryan Hartman steps into open ice. It's a clear interference. He's suspended, I think, for one game, and then Nikolaj Ehlers misses 4 games, comes back, isn't effective. And by the time Winnipeg's eliminated, Scheifele and Morrissey are already hurt. For Drouin to step out at a time that Colorado is struggling, I know that they put it together against Edmonton in their final game of the season, but just maybe it's one more little reason why so many people in Winnipeg feel good right now. It feels like the arrows are pointed in Winnipeg's direction.
Murat, there's the old adage that, if you don't have a clear-cut starting goaltender, number one goalie, that means you don't really have a number one goalie. And that brings me to the goaltending matchup in this series. You have Connor Hellebuyck. There's a clear-cut number one goaltender, the future Vezina Trophy winner. I'm prognosticating ahead a little bit, but I'm confident in saying that. And then you look at Colorado, where they have Alexander Georgiev, who has been hot and cold this year. They have Justus Annunen, a young goaltender who's got better numbers. But again, it just seems like the question mark that is in net for the Colorado Avalanche seems like a story that's going to loom large in this series, or certainly going to, I think, play a factor at one point in time or another.
Yeah, I like how head coach Jared Bednar has sort of tripped over himself, at least down the stretch, to be sure and be adamant there's no goaltending controversy here. But Georgiev hasn't played well enough to answer that question.
Right.
There is doubt heading into the playoffs for Colorado Avalanche goaltending, and Annunen's performances have been good, but there have been some games where he has not been good as well. Mm-hmm. So if there's an advantage in this series, and there are a few in each direction, but Connor Hellebuyck gives Winnipeg the single biggest advantage that there is. The problem with that is goaltending is one of those small sample things where the wrong bounce, the wrong giveaway, the wrong piece of coverage could have a goalie's stats looking like he was the worst one by the end of the series. And we saw Laurent Brossoit, quote-unquote, outplay Connor Hellebuyck last year. You'd have to go into the video to be absolutely sure, but fans were so upset. So goaltending isn't a done deal until they go out and do it. I have more faith in Connor Hellebuyck than any goaltender on the planet to go out and do it. We just have to see it first.
Murat, I got to ask you, we were yesterday on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, we talked about game changers and X factors, and I know you did a column today ranking the 5 Winnipeg Jets with the most to prove. So I don't want you to reveal everything. Of course, people have to be subscribers to The Athletic to get the entirety of your article.
Yes,
but maybe
Everybody watching our show subscribes to The Athletic.
We hope they do. We know the 3 of us do. We know. I don't know about Timmy. I think Timmy does. So we're good. We got all 4 of us here, but.
He's going to walk off if Timmy didn't.
Tim has 5 subscriptions.
From your perspective, Murat, who would you rank in the top of your rankings for Jets with the most to prove coming into this series?
For me, it's not that his status isn't well known around the league, but if you look at the way Mark Scheifele's playoffs have ended the last 3 times out, he's been on the outside looking in, right? Go back as far as 2018, 14 goals, scoring at will, even strength, power play, he was a threat. 11 goals on the road. He set an NHL record at the time for most road goals in a postseason. But since then, you've got the Matthew Tkachuk incident where he reaches out with his foot and he sort of slew foots Scheifele on his way into the wall. You have Scheifele's own suspension against Jake Evans. And then you have his injury last year as well on the breakaway. He crashes into the boards. This is one of the world's premier offensive players who has shown a 200-foot game often. He will get an awful lot of Nathan McKinnon, who he wants to see himself in the echelon of. So it's not that I have any doubt in Mark Scheifele, but what he has to gain from a complete playoff series, from a complete playoff run where he's producing at both ends of the ice, I think there's one there.
Wanted to ask you about defense, because obviously a lot of the focus has been on Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and rightly so, and the forward depth. There's been a little bit of focus on the goaltending, obviously, as you mentioned. You have to take advantage of that, though. Everybody knows that Connor Hellebuyck is most likely going to win the Vezina Trophy, and Sam Girard, he does have, that kind of precarious injury status, right? He is going to play, but we don't know if he's 100%, truly 100%. But I wanted to specifically ask you about how much you're looking forward to the Josh Morrissey versus Cale Makar matchup, because in a year in which Quinn Hughes is probably going to win the Norris Trophy, you don't have to tell us who you voted for, by the way. Craig Button told us who he voted for yesterday for the Hart Trophy, which was the Hart Trophy. Kucherov. And Craig Button mentioned that he voted for Adam Lowry for 5th in Selke Trophy, but we're not going to put you on the spot there. But just how much are you looking forward to that? Because, like I said, in a year in which you've got Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar, Roman Josi leading all the headlines, I think you'd agree that Josh Morrissey was sensational from Game 1 right through Game 82. Game 81, sorry.
I'm going to reveal a little bit of my ballot right now.
Okay. No. I like it. I like it. Yeah, we need to get that breaking news music on.
So I don't think that Cale Makar had a better regular season than Josh Morrissey did this season. I think Cale Makar is one of at the top of his game, one of the most dominant defensemen. I would not take many players over Cale Makar on a general year. He's had some injury problems, and I know that he's put up points, but his ability to completely dominate the flow of play has been less this year than in recent years. Meanwhile, I know Josh Morrissey dropped from 76 points. He didn't quite get that high, but his all-around game, his ability to defend, to pick his spots better, to really control the flow of play, for me, was even better this year than last year. So Josh Morrissey's on my top 5 for the Norris Trophy this year. Cale Makar was not.
Well, there you go. A little bit of insight into the voting mindset of Murat Ates. This is the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're live at Cityplace, 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center, up in the second floor. Food court, food options available both upstairs and downstairs. If you're wearing a Jets jersey or a white shirt, mention that you heard the promotion at any participating Cityplace restaurant for $2 off your food order. So be sure, if you're listening to us and you hear my voice, you can go ahead and get a little bit of a discount on your food items at participating restaurants here on the second floor at the food court here at Cityplace.
I wonder how much people enjoy listening to you, Drew, while they eat their food. I think you've got a pretty nice voice to eat food too.
I think so. I think I have dulcet tones at the best of times.
I hope you told Ezzy's wife and his 2 kids about that deal, so they at least got their money off their order.
They went to Subway, by the way. My kids are around the corner and they're enjoying some subs. Ruben loves his Doritos.
I didn't know they made a Dorito sub, but apparently they do. Murat, for the Jets, on the injury side for the Jets, Morgan Barron, he's out of the lineup. Not a real surprise that David Gustafson comes in. It seems like he's better suited for that fourth line sort of checking role more than Cole Perfetti, despite Perfetti's 19 goals on the season. What are you sort of expecting from David Gustafson? He played well in the last couple of games when he got into the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets as of late. He made an impact. So, what are you sort of looking for from David Gustafson in this evening's game?
Well, I think that Gustafson has made a really big impact in a short amount of time, especially in these most recent games that he's gotten into. I have time for Cole Perfetti as one of Winnipeg's 12 best forwards. Don't get me wrong.
Right. Okay, so hang on. Let me stop you there. What do you think of the decision to go with Gustafson over Perfetti in that role, given the role that is expected to be sort of played by that line?
Well, Rick Bowness has clearly defined roles, right? We know that. We know that Mark Scheifele, Gabe Vilardi, and Kyle Connor are going to be asked to lead the way offensively and play big minutes. They're going to see some Nathan McKinnon, too, as much as that's Adam Lowry's job. We know Adam Lowry's job with Niederreiter and Appleton is going to be McKinnon. It's going to be strong two-way defensive play. And we know that Ehlers, Monahan, and Scheifele will be counted on for that secondary scoring because ideally, if you're the Winnipeg Jets, you can take advantage of Colorado's lack of forward depth compared to you. That's one of the advantages in Winnipeg's direction. So what's left, right? It's going to be that fourth line role with Namestnikov and with Alex Iafallo. And I think that David Gustafsson is tremendously well suited to that. At the same time, there was a stretch when Cole Perfetti, Iafallo, and Namestnikov were Winnipeg's second line, and they were producing and they were scoring and all of those sorts of things. So it is a choice to leave a 19-goal scorer on the sidelines. At the same time, I get it because of how devoted to his structure that Rick Bowness has been as a coach. Fun fact, by the way, Cole Perfetti learned to skate as a kid in Southern Ontario, and in the middle of his skating lessons, he would always go for Subway with his grandpa.
There you go. That's what you get by when you have Murat Ates, because you're the guy who does all the great, insightful profiles on the Jets players.
This is crucial information. Like, people might think that that's not that important. That's very important to know. On Cole Perfetti's run on his road to the NHL, it's important to know that. So thank you very much for bringing that up.
But did his grandfather throw him off of Pride Rock?
I think that was only me. I'm the only one that careless.
Well, actually, maybe you want to share the story about the poll you did with the anonymous poll, and you talked to Cole Perfetti about how he felt about that meme and his thoughts. If you want to share that one with the audience.
Well, 100%. So, I mean, Cole Perfetti, obviously, top young prospect. During that 2021 season when he was playing for the Moose, and he scores his first pro goal, I was so excited to, find the right GIF on the internet and put it on Twitter, and oh God, this is going to go viral, right? Like, this is going to be so big.
It did.
For the wrong reasons. I chose the Lion King Rafiki, the mandrill. What kind of monkey is he? Anyway, so he's holding baby Simba over the cliff, and I think, oh, this is beautiful, and I don't watch it all the way through, and I chose the wrong GIF, and he throws baby Simba from the cliff. And everybody's like, Murat, what did you do? What did you do here? And I'm still not watching the whole thing again. I'm doubling down. I'm like, hey, isn't this funny? Isn't this the greatest tweet? So it went around and around and around. His family is aware of it. And then recently on these NHL player polls, or these Winnipeg Jets player polls, I ran these 3 behind-the-scenes Jets stories at The Athletic. And I said, Cole, are you willing to take off the anonymity hat for a second? Can we talk about the Simba meme? How do you honestly feel about it? He says, it's good. It's fine. He laughs at it. He actually thinks it's very funny. He thinks people's references to the Eminem song with Mom Spaghetti, very funny. He doesn't like being thought of as a non-smiler, though, because he thinks he's a much nicer guy than that.
Well, and he did smile. I mean, there was the picture of him and Dylan Samberg walking in, very Step Brothers-esque. We know they're roommates, holding each other. So that was kind of funny.
And the 2 goals that he scored in Game 82 against Vancouver, I think that put a smile on his face. And I understand why he doesn't want to have that reputation, but I actually I don't know about everybody else, but I love the fact that he kind of has the no celebration. Like, it's just like another day in the office, right?
Well,
when he scores a goal, it's just like, yeah, I scored a goal. Okay, yeah, go back to the bench, get back out there for the next shift, right?
That was sort of the opposite of that, because you're one of the most effusive, like, you wear your joy on your sleeve. You're one of the nicest guys, and everybody knows it kind of deal. So it's funny that you like the stoic one.
Well, it was sort of Walter Payton-esque. If you guys remember Walter Payton, great running back for the Bears, would score a touchdown, just would take the ball and just hand it back to the official and go on to the change for the special teams to come on for the extra point. No celebration, very, very stoic, exactly. So there are different ways to approach the same thing, I suppose.
So, Murat, the question I was going to ask you, though, is about the defense. And as you talked about the defense already, but I want to ask you about the choice to use the Dylan Samberg and Logan Stanley pairing and the idea of using Samberg on his right side. What have you thought of Dylan Samberg again? We saw that with the Moose, where Samberg made a little bit of a move to the right. Wasn't super comfortable doing it at the AHL level. Then he goes up to the NHL, and I remember Nate Schmidt telling me about stories when he was in Washington, and he looked at that left side, and they said, can you play on the right? He goes, I'll learn. And there's a certain, you want to be in the NHL, you're going to figure it out. But what have you thought in terms of Dylan Samberg on the right side, and also his pairing with Logan Stanley?
Yeah, I think it is an adjustment period for him. I think that is a lesson. I like that Nate Schmidt story that you've got. For me, Dylan Samberg has quietly been one of Winnipeg's best defense-first defenders all season long.
No question.
He's an excellent penalty killer. He's a good shot blocker. He's physical. He doesn't get caught out of position. And with young defensemen, I know he's not that young anymore, but with young defensemen, sometimes when offensive players make switches or there's overlaps or somebody tucks in behind the net or looks weak side, there's a little bit of over your shoulder. These guys get lost a little bit. Dylan Samberg does not get lost, and I think that is the single best thing about him as a defender, in addition to the physical talents that he has. I think some of his puck play gets a bit tougher when he's on his offside like that, and that's something to watch out for. Winnipeg's third pair too, because Logan Stanley was the one that Nathan McKinnon burnt as badly as he did on December 7th in that one game. I think he would have burnt just about any defenseman in that capacity, but Stanley was the one who that happened to. So that's a matchup. I think that third pair is one you're going to have to watch out for if you're the Jets.
You know, we just talked about the third pair, obviously. For you, what's the biggest line combination matchup that you think maybe that the Jets have a clear advantage? We know that Rick Bowness is going to want to have that Lowry line up against the McKinnon line. Jared Bednar, I'm sure, would love to have the Scheifele line versus the McKinnon line. He'll probably get that more when the series shifts to Colorado. But, like, what is one line that you think the Jets can just absolutely eat for lunch? Throw off of Pride Rock, if you will.
I mean, it's... I'll go back, I guess. A couple months ago, I have a tweet. I'm on record saying if the Winnipeg Jets do anything special during these playoffs, one of the stories will be that Vladislav Namestnikov scored a way too important goal for a fourth-line player. Like, he's been so dynamic. He has that ability to play up and down the lineup, and I think that he's a bit of an X factor in that way. And Winnipeg's fourth line is an X factor in that way. I talk to LB about this sometimes. Like, Laurent Brossoit is adamant that one of the reasons Vegas won the Stanley Cup last year was because their fourth line was a decided advantage over any team, and I think Winnipeg does have that.
A couple of Manitobans on that line.
I mean,
last year for the Vegas fourth line.
Yeah.
No, I understood what he was saying.
Keegan Colasar, right?
Yeah.
Keegan Colasar and Brett Howden.
For
a second, there, Murat, I blanked.
Alex Iafallo going camping this summer in the White Shell, and I'm like, is he a Manitoban
now?
now?
Iafallo's Manitoban now.
Murat, you've been around here long enough to know that at least once during every interview, as he makes a comment that throws the guest for a complete loop, that was the comment.
Yeah.
You wrote about this in The Athletic. In one of you've been prolific as of late with your writing over the last few days, of course, leading up to the series. And you talked about shutting down Nathan McKinnon, how it's almost an impossible task. Averages more than a point a game in the playoffs in his career. And you talked about the importance, though, of the Jets and having the good gaps, but F1, F2, and almost the importance of F3, the third forward coming back, when it's the five-man unit and trying to defend. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit for the audience here at CityPlace and everybody watching us on our social media channels?
Yeah, I mean, Nathan McKinnon is a freak, right? Yeah. Like, he's a different animal in the playoffs. He has scored more points per game in the playoffs than during his illustrious regular season career. He is a bit of a monstrosity in terms of something to handle. People say that Seattle shut him down last year. He actually scored a point per game and was +6 at 5-on-5. So there is no stopping Nathan McKinnon. There is somehow winning the game elsewhere in the lineup, right?
Right.
But when you look at what he's done and what Mikko Rantanen have done, they're big players, they're fast players. Colorado is one of the best entry teams in the league. They'll get it out of their zone and into Winnipeg's zone as well as any other team in the National Hockey League. And then those two guys can protect the puck because they're big, they're strong, they can play physically any different way that you want. So let's say Nathan McKinnon's got the puck, he's raced into the Winnipeg Jets zone. He's going to be able to take it straight to the net if he has that lane, or curl up, protect the puck, and wait for Mikko Rantanen. And Rantanen likes to lurk on the weak side, driving that far post. What that means, Winnipeg's first forward is going to have to be absolutely hustling to try to keep pace with McKinnon, but its second forward back into the zone is going to be just as important to pick up any trailers like a Rantanen, like whoever else is going to be on that line. And then because it's the Colorado Avalanche, you have Cale Makar as a second or even third wave of offense. The rest of their lineup is good too. Girard when he's playing well, Walker when he's playing well, all of them can jump into the play, which means Winnipeg's third forward has to beat Colorado's defense into the zone because there's so many waves of attack, and that's going to make them a bit of a matchup nightmare, that McKinnon line.
You mentioned in that article, not to give the spoiler alert, and then we encourage everybody
you paid for it, so you're fine.
Okay, that's good. So everybody else that didn't pay for it, close your ears while I ask this question. But you talk about how Velarde and Connor aren't great in transition defense, how that's been an area that the Avalanche might be looking to exploit. So do you think that the Jets have really spent some attention, in the lead up to the series, focusing on that need for everybody to be so hard on the back checks? Because really, if you're a quarter of a step behind Nathan McKinnon and the rest of his line mates, that can quickly become half a step, 3/4 of a step, and a full step behind in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, it's one of the things Winnipeg did well down the stretch, right? When they briefly put Kyle Connor on the second line, and all of a sudden he was going, his feet were moving, lots was happening. Then they reunite him with Scheifele and Velarde, and their defensive numbers have not been good over the course of the season. You can score on that line. That's happened. Other teams have done it. Kyle Connor is one of the best offensive players on the planet, but he is even at 5-on-5, which means goals are going in the other direction as well, right? So where are they going to be counted on in this? It's going to be to track back in those situations. They also have a bit of a tough job because when Winnipeg regains the puck in their own zone, they immediately have a choice to make. They want a winger stretching up ice. This is part of the system. It's part of the plan. They create offense that way. Josh Morrissey is one of the best stretch passers in the NHL. So the moment Winnipeg gets the puck, Kyle Connor especially, because he's got the wheels, has to make the decision, can I go? Can I go? And at times this season, he didn't get that decision calibrated just right. There were giveaways, and you'd see him in the neutral zone tracking back, and it's not quite, he's not there. This last stretch of play, I'm going to say these last couple of weeks heading into the postseason, he's been on his horse in that regard. And those two wingers both have great sticks, both can do so many different things, but their job makes probably that Mark Scheifele line the most important one to me because they're going to get such tough matchups too, at home, on the road, whatever it's going to be.
You're watching the Illegal Curve pregame show. Murat Ates of The Athletic is our guest. We're live at Cityplace, 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center, up on the second floor of the food court. All the vendors open, ready for you to grab a bite to eat before the game in about an hour's time is when puck drop will be. And, of course, restaurants on the main floor are open as well.
You know, Murat, one of the things that, Rick Bowness was so loath to do was to break up that second line. He didn't want to take, Nikolaj Ehlers off of it. He did in the hopes that he would get that first line going. But of course, everybody wanted Nikolaj Ehlers to be up there, but he really seems to have found a home with Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. What have you seen in terms of the connectivity with those three that has allowed it to work so well?
I think Sean Monahan is in some ways the key to that. Nikolaj Ehlers is perhaps the most dynamic Jet when he's on his game. Nobody knows what he's going to do, and that includes defenders, right? Like, that includes defense. And so at 5-on-5, he can be a weapon, but he can also be a bit confusing. So I think what Sean Monahan has done really, really well is be that Paul Stastny type, dependable, always in the right spots. He's not a particularly fast player, but his forecheck takes great lines. His stick is excellent. Tyler Toffoli's been there. He's won a cup. He scored 30 goals in so many different places. So when Nikolaj Ehlers is bursting into space and playing that jazz in the offensive zone and nobody knows exactly what does that do? His speed draws help defense. His speed brings an extra defender to him. Who's going to jump into the space left behind? Tyler Toffoli's as good as it gets on that front.
Murat, I mentioned earlier we had Craig Button on the show yesterday, and I thought he said something really interesting about the Colorado Avalanche, specifically Casey Mittelstadt, who obviously they acquired from Buffalo for Bowen Byram prior to the trade deadline. He said that it's going to be real tough. There's a lot of pressure on Casey Mittelstadt. He's never been in the playoffs before. And like, to me, that's kind of where the drop-off starts, right? We just talked about Monahan, Ehlers, Toffoli. Those are all veterans. And Casey Mittelstadt, he's, 25, 26 now, something like that. So it's not exactly like, he's a 19 or 20-year-old, but like there's a lot of pressure on him. And how do you think he's going to handle that? Because, as you know, Ryan Johansson was brought in the offseason to be the second-line center. That obviously didn't work out. He was traded prior to the trade deadline. But what are you expecting out of that line? Obviously, Mittelstadt right in the middle of it.
Yeah, Colorado was looking for secondary scoring all year long, right? That was a problem for them. Ryan Johansson was not the answer. They needed to find one. With Casey Mittelstadt, his last 2 years have been 2 consecutive enormous steps forward after I think people were wondering, is this guy ever going to be a top 6 center the way that his draft pedigree suggested that he should be? And this year in Buffalo, he was one of their few brightest spots in the first half of the season. For me, when these guys are younger than that, when they're late teens, early 20s, and now they're playing their first playoffs, I worry about their ability to raise their game and elevate it and play the right way. But we saw what happened to Jack Eichel in his first playoffs last year, right? When they're veterans, when they're quality, when they've actually, they're in their mid-20s, in the prime of their career, I'm a little bit less afraid. So Jack Eichel had one bad game. It was game 1. Winnipeg was all over them. Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois ran rampant in that game. That was a really great Jets game. And then from there, it was left behind. And Eichel was one of Vegas' best players throughout. I'm not saying Casey Mittelstadt is at that level, but I do respect his quality, and I'm not that worried about his ability to adapt his game.
Last one for you. We'll let you get back to getting close to the arena as we're within an hour of puck drop in downtown Winnipeg between the Jets and the Avs. Neil Pionk, that second pairing for the Winnipeg Jets. A lot of people were wondering if there would be an area that the Jets would look to upgrade at the trade deadline. They clearly didn't. They went in different ways with their upgrades. What does a successful Neil Pionk game look like to start game 1 between the Jets and the Avs?
Neil Pionk, for me, is at his best when he is making fast and aggressive reads, gapping up at the blue line aggressively, and laying the body, like challenging that blue line, making it hard to get into the zone first and foremost. When he's on his game, from there on out, if that play doesn't work, if the puck does get in, he's on his horse, he's getting back, he's making the entry, making the retrieval, and he's moving the puck to get it going the other direction. There are times, and we've seen them down the stretch, which is a little bit concerning, where that retrieval into that first pass is a problem. There have been some giveaways, there's been some extra time in Winnipeg's own zone, and that's where the difference between Neil Pionk at his best and on his worst day is actually, for me, quite a wide gulf. I believe in his playoffs that he had last year. He's one of Winnipeg's best players. I believe in certain stretches of plays that he's had, but he struggled down the stretch for me, and I think that opens up some opportunity for the Avalanche on that second pair.
Complete coverage in The Athletic. Murat Ates is going to cover this team and this series top to bottom like no one else. Murat, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. An hour till puck drop. The excitement is palpable. It's growing here at Cityplace. It's growing within myself as well, and I'm sure I speak the same for you. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me, guys.
There you go, Murat Ates, our good friend here on the Illegal Curve pregame show. We'll come back with more on the Jets and the Avalanche within an hour of puck drop. Game 1 between the Jets and the Avs. You're watching the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're live at Cityplace on the second floor in the food court and on all of our social media platforms.
Keeping Winnipeg laughing for over 30 years. Rumors, Canada's longest-running comedy club, bringing you the biggest laughs from the best comedians on the planet. Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the greats, and all the up-and-comers too. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends, or book your office or birthday party. Even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Hey, Drew.
Ezzy, whoa, what a smile!
Yeah, I got my crowns done at Linden Market Dental Center, and they whitened my teeth.
I see.
They're so bright that every time I smile, they go,
"We have hockey tonight. Do you have a mouth guard to protect those pearly whites?"
I sure do.
Whoa, they even ting through the mouth guard.
Linden Market Dental Center covers all your dental needs, from restorative to cosmetic dentistry, and will fit you with a sports guard for that active lifestyle. 877 Waverly. See lindenmarketdental.com.
It's all over, folks, and the run has come to an end.
You'll be so far away.
A Canadian team hasn't won the Cup in over 30 years.
And the Cup will stay south of the border.
Maybe it's time we try something different. This playoff season, let's cheer with the fans we've always cheered against. Team up for the Cup at Boston Pizza.
We did it again!
You're on fire, man.
There's power in a handshake. After a great game or great deal, it shows professionalism and respect. Two qualities Zappia Group Realty take pride in. You don't build a business where 95% of your clients are referred by others without honesty, integrity, and total dedication to client satisfaction. To sell your home for more in less time, shake hands with Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Get started at zappiagroup.com.
We are back. The Illegal Curve pregame show rolling on here live at Cityplace in downtown Winnipeg.
Who brought us these prime drinks?
My buddy Bobby. That was my.
I don't know, but I'm thirsty, so
you
thank
can
you.
drink those.
Bobby.
Yeah, my buddy
Big thanks to
Bobby.
Bobby.
And
I was
his son-
parched here.
I've never
and
tried this
his
before.
son Joe. They're going out to the party on the Street Fest.
No,
They decided that we looked a little thirsty, so they brought us
Nice.
something to hydrate with.
I was having some of the worst cotton mouth that I've experienced since grade 12, so I love it.
There's a joke there, but I don't think it's appropriate for public consumption, so I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it as is in that instance. We're live here, second floor, Cityplace, as I mentioned, and
Big
of
shout out
course,
to Subway, by the way.
Yeah.
They brought us some.
so we got some sandwiches and some Subway cookies over here.
I've already dipped into the cookies.
I'm not surprised. Dave M, despite his svelte look, is a man
Svelte, eh?
who's enjoyed a cookie or two in his
Camera
day.
adds 20 pounds, folks.
In my case, it's adding 40. In that.
Well, Dave M, absolutely. Beside me, you're svelte. Like I could be in a commercial for Ozempic.
You've been using that joke a lot lately.
You're really
it's time for some new material.
No, it's not that it's new material. I think Ezzy's angling.
Guys,
for
I'm
like
trying to
sort
get
of
them to sponsor the
Yeah,
show.
okay.
Okay, let me do my thing.
Let me have this.
It's the little things in life. As we mentioned, of course, after the game tonight, the Illegal Curve post-game show on all of our social media channels. If you're not already subscribing and you're within my earshot, so that would be the people here at Cityplace, just scan the QR code that's right behind us, or just search for Illegal Curve on YouTube, and you will find us. Subscribe. We do this after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. We do it again Saturday mornings, and of course, Tuesday, another edition of the Illegal Curve pregame show right back here at Cityplace prior to Game 2 between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche.
We'll have a box of matzah on the table.
That's
on
right,
Tuesday
exactly.
night.
On Tuesday, we'll have to have some. We'll have to have a little bit of a different snack available to us as we get set for the Jets and the Avalanche. And again, 6 o'clock puck drop this evening. You can feel the excitement is growing both here in the mall and outside on the streets. Everywhere you look, Jets paraphernalia top to bottom as everyone's getting ready for what should be a great Game 1. I do believe that this Jets team, I'm anticipating, sometimes, you're not sure, is a team going to come out with some nerves? Is a team going to come out with sort of an extra dose of energy? This is my hunch more than anything. This is, non-scientific analysis here. I do believe that the Jets are feeling their oats and are ready to come out like sort of a thoroughbred being let out of the gate to start this Game 1. And, if the Jets can get an early goal, and of course that's always, you can always start a game well, but you might not necessarily be able to deposit a puck behind a goalie into the mesh. But I think an early Jets goal will do wonders for them this evening against the Avalanche.
Yeah, I think it's twofold. I think number one, it'll get the crowd bananas, and the
Yeah,
crowd's already going to be
already
bananas.
bananas,
We know
yeah.
what the crowd is like, generally speaking, and we know that the playoffs, the whiteout, that always amplifies things. And the other thing it's going to do is it's going to crush the Avalanche, because the Avalanche already don't have a lot of faith in their goaltending. So if you can get Grigoriev quick and really get in his head, I think it's going to lend you a real strong start. Obviously, Drew, as we've touched on a couple times, Captain Obvious. But you're right. It's definitely a critical thing, is to harness your energy. Murat talked about it. The guys are going to be amped up, but you don't want to be outside the structure.
Right.
And some people talk about, well, what does the structure mean? Well, I mean, again, it's the players can detail it, and the reality is, again, like, we don't have to break it down here, the nuts and bolts. Maybe we can turn this into an X and O, and we can do a board on it. But the point I'm making is that
easy there, Howie Meeker.
Yeah, generally speaking, that you can see when the Jets are within the structure that we watch them play, right? The defensively sound, not taking too many chances, and then obviously counterattacking when you've taken possession of the puck. And you know that Colorado is still, despite the fact that they don't have Jonathan Drouin, they're still a very good hockey team. They're still, they have one of the best players in the NHL. So it's still always going to be a factor, even if you have the deeper team. But again, I think Drew's right. I think if you can get to that quick start, get the crowd into it, give them a little bit of nerves already. We know, look, we've seen enough when you play with a lack of confidence in your goaltending, what that can do to a team, how they try and almost overcompensate for the lack in net. So if the Avs truly believe that is a concern, which obviously it is based on what we've seen from the last month and a half of Colorado, then that's a way you can exploit things.
I think, Dave, I was going to say, Drew, you just nailed it, Dave, in terms of this is going to be a speed skating series, right? And it's not just the McKinnon line. We obviously know Murat detailed, like, in what they can do. I mean, you just have to look at the points leaders in the NHL. They're both top 10, Rantanen and McKinnon in the NHL, right? But even when you go down to the Mittelstadt line with Arturi Lehkonen and Valeri Nichushkin, that's a pretty fast line, a skilled line as well. And we've talked about it. Then you get down to the third line with Miles Wood and Ross Colton, and then even though that's a pretty decent line, then it starts to
But
as you go
the
down.
Offense dries up. That's the problem for the Avs
Jets,
at the bottom of their lineup.
No,
the offense drives up.
Exactly, and but regardless of which matchup or which line is out there for the Avalanche, the thing is you want to control the speed of the game. You want to control the pace of the game, and obviously spend as much time as you can in the Avalanche zone. That's what was so, I think, shocking about the 7-0 win for the Jets in Denver. What was that, 8 or 9 days ago at this point, was that the Avalanche just didn't have any response. It's like the Jets just came in layers, and that's what we saw through the first 45 to 50 games of the season, as opposed to kind of games 50 to, I guess, 74. It was the last 8 games where obviously the Jets turned it around, had the big winning streak, right? So it's controlling the pace of play, and it's also the pressure game. I've talked about this, and Dave joked about getting into the X's and O's, but really, when the Jets have an aggressive forecheck, they're all over the opposing team, in this case, the Avalanche. You just don't have anywhere to go, and that's when the other team creates turnovers, as opposed to when the Jets are struggling, they're the ones making the turnovers, right? We've talked about it, whether it's Nick Ehlers or Neil Pionk's been the victim of a lot of turnovers this season, right? So that's what it is. It's making sure that you're the aggressor, as opposed to letting them play their game and dictate the pace of play and everything like that, right? So you're absolutely right, Drew. I think the Jets, more so than other teams, we know how successful they are when they get the first goal, when they have a lead after a period or 2 periods, right? So, I mean, it's going to be a close series, I think, as well. But I think the difference is going to be the goaltending and the fact that the Avalanche just can't compete with the fact that the Jets can roll out line after line,
right?
And there's not really a change in the way the Jets play. They're just all over you. They're killer bees, I've said before.
Well, that's
similar to the Golden Knights, the way they played the Jets in 2018. That's the type of game they play. It's solid defensive hockey, but it's also pressuring all over the ice.
It's the swarm effect, and you mentioned that, and I think that was a very good point you made, Ezzy. The Jets, when they come at you in the waves, can get you the defense, hemmed in on their the backs on their heels. And you look at Colorado's defense, and yes, Cale Makar is a fantastic defenseman, and Devon Taves, pardon me, is almost the perfect pairing with him. Sort of like Morrissey and DeMello work so well together, Makar and Taves work so well together. But when you go beyond that, Jack Johnson, again, grizzled veteran, not fleet of foot anymore,
Right.
He's lacking. So that's an advantage for the Winnipeg Jets that they should be able to try and take care of. Now, an Avalanche analysis would say the same about probably Logan Stanley. The difference is, Stanley with Samberg. Samberg is so solid there that he, I think, can help insulate Logan Stanley and protect him a little bit. Similarly, like Brendan Dillon, when he's at his game, what impact is he going to have on Neil Pionk? And we know that Neil Pionk, and the word about Neil Pionk is that he is, of course, a chaos agent. What is Neil Pionk going to bring on the ice for the Winnipeg Jets? And that's a great question. If Neil Pionk is able to play sort of a better style of game, or when we see Neil Pionk playing well, that's going to be such a boon for the Winnipeg Jets. When he's playing the positive chaos, bringing the positive chaos, as opposed to when the downside of Neil Pionk's activities that really can begin to hinder the Jets.
Yeah, and I think the point that what's up, guys?
Woo, there you go,
I think
some people.
the point that Murat made, when Neil Pionk's offensive game is going and he's contributing and looking good on the second power play unit, but he's making strong breakout passes. Shout out to my lifelong friend Adam Florence, who's in town, by the way, from Montreal, and his brother Mike.
I thought that was Florence.
Yeah, of course, it's the Florence brothers right there.
Hello, Adam.
Enjoy the game, boys. Yeah, I've been friends with Adam since I was 5 years old, going back to Robert H. Smith School, so shout out to him. I know he's going to be here for Game 2 as well. But yeah, absolutely, Drew. Look, I think there's a shorter leash for Neil Pionk than there was earlier in the season. And then we got another celebrity here, Kevin Manouk. Shout out to him, best defense lawyer in town. So enjoy the game, Kev. So I mean, Pionk's got to be good, and I think, Dave, as this series progresses, and as the Jets, I think, hopefully go on a long run, I think there is always the option that you have a switch there, and maybe a guy like Dylan Samberg, who's currently playing on the right side, he could go up there on the second pair, and then maybe your third pair is Stanley and Pionk. I realize that the advanced stats crowd starts to have a panic attack when we talk about Logan Stanley and Neil Pionk, but I honestly don't think that there would be that big of a drop-off in the play because they would be playing more sheltered minutes.
Let me ask you guys this. I mean, for so much of this year, Nate Schmidt and Dylan Samberg were one of the best third pairings in the entire league.
Yeah.
I find it curious that the Jets have sort of moved away from that. Not that Nate Schmidt is what he once was earlier in his career. He's clearly taken a step back and is not as impactful as he once was. But I wonder how quickly Rick Bowness might go back to that pairing, knowing that it did work really well earlier in the season. And it's a big if Samberg and Stanley don't show well in today's game one day.
True. I mean, we saw how quickly he went back to Ehlers, Scheifele, Velarde. Oh, wait.
Yeah, not very quickly.
So I don't know that I would hold my breath on that because remember when they were doing as well as they were, and when he went away from that, we said, well, you know what? The reality is there's muscle memory. He knows that line works together. And what did we see it for a game and a half? Maybe for down the stretch. So sure, he may do it. He may choose to. He's obviously seen something in Logan Stanley that he likes. And Logan Stanley's been playing better of late. So there's a reason that to believe that. Whether Logan Stanley is able to offset. I mean, you're asking a lot, right? Dylan Samberg is still relatively young in terms of playoff experience.
Yeah.
So obviously, like we know what happened to him last year in the double overtime game.
Right.
So there's going
to be 3 here in Winnipeg.
Yeah. So there's definitely going to be some nerves with a player like that. And don't get me wrong, I think, and as he and we've all talked about this, how high we regard Dylan Samberg. But you're asking a lot of him to move him to the right side versus a veteran like Nate Schmidt who has all the game's experience. Who knows how to play on that right side, is comfortable on that right side, and then you have Samberg on his, where he's more comfortable on the left. So we'll see how it works. Obviously, he wants Stanley in for size and to, and right now the Jets have home ice, so maybe that plays a factor. You get the decisions, you get to pick the lines that you want to match. So we'll see how that goes in terms of, in Colorado for Game 3 on Friday night will be a Boston Pizza. It's gonna be a late one.
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock puck drop for Game 3.
Remember, no pregame shows for the away games.
Right.
So we will not be doing pregame.
Here's
shows.
we'll do a quick rundown of the schedule upcoming for us here at Illegal Curve. So tonight after the game, the Illegal Curve post-game show on our social media channel. So there's a QR code here on the poster for all those who can hear me within earshot here at Cityplace. Scan that, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll do the post-game show after the game tonight. Game 2, the pre-game show back here at Cityplace and on all of our social media channels. So Game 2, the pregame, the game is 8:30 for Game 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 8:30.
So we'll probably do pregame shows.
It'll probably start closer to 8:45, but somewhere.
It'll be a late night on Tuesday as well, but right around 6:30 or so for the pregame show on Tuesday night. Then of course the postgame show, and then Friday night we are going to be live at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, not the Boston Pizza here at Cityplace, but the one on Taylor Avenue for a watch party and a live broadcast of the Illegal Curve postgame show. That'll be Friday night into Saturday morning, and then a quick turnaround with the Illegal Curve hockey show Saturday morning
3
at
overtimes.
9 a.m.
Yeah, 3 overtimes.
Basically, producer Tim is going to be seeing way more of us than he would like to, but
producer Tim's going to be seeing way more of us than our wives and family will, I think, at that point in time. But we do it all because this is the best time of year. We're live here at Cityplace, downtown Winnipeg. The action is building. The anticipation is growing. We are about 40 minutes away from puck drop in Game 1 between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. There's some fans cheering things along here. There you go. There you go. I like that kind of cheering from the audience here. Live at Cityplace. A great afternoon.
Drew, they're not
so
cheering
far.
for the Jets Avalanche game. They're just cheering because Dave M looks so good with that slick back hair and that beautiful suit. Dave M's going to the press box to represent Illegal Curve, where Drew and I are just going back to our home, but Dave M always has applause wherever he goes.
That's true. People just are always.
The hair has definitely become a conversation piece here in the chat. So I'll be going back to the hat, folks. Don't worry.
That's good. The hat will be on for the post-game show after the Jets.
No, I forgot to hat it. Maybe I'll take Ezzy's on my to the press box.
You can have it.
Okay, there you go. So there you have it. There's the rundown of the schedule upcoming. The Jets and the Colorado Avalanche game 1 coming up. Like I said, in about 40 minutes time. Quick look at the out-of-town scoreboard. 2 games already in the books today. The Florida Panthers, they defeated the Tampa Bay Lightning 3-2, and the New York Rangers, they defeated the Washington Capitals 4-1. So all 4 Eastern Conference teams, the home team won in all 4 games
Drew,
so
why
far.
was there not? I don't want to be that guy, but why was there not a late game last night? Like Saturday, the NHL starts it off. Obviously, with the afternoon game, right? Carolina and the Islanders.
Which was a good. By the way,
it was a decent game. Carolina. It was very close.
Yeah.
Carolina pulled away just in the third period.
Yeah.
So okay, Carolina beats the Islanders, and then you had the Leafs and Bruins. Okay, wasn't a close game. The Bruins win, and then that was it. Like, why would you start off with just 2 games? I don't get it.
I can't explain the NHL
By the way,
scheduling
as an
at all.
aside, and I don't want to malign either of the 2 folks who were doing it. What was with the double color commentators doing the game? Did you watch that Carolina Islanders game? It was really weird. It was really so Darren Pang and Jen Botterill, of course, of Winnipeg, were doing the game.
So there was not a traditional.
John Forsland is doing the play-by-play.
Okay.
And then you had Darren Pang and Jen Botterill doing.
So like you had an unnecessary 3-person
But
booth?
one of them was not between the benches.
I don't know. It was. I found it very distracting. I did not enjoy. And again, I don't like to malign. I mean, it's hard because John Forsland obviously does the Seattle Kraken games.
Yeah.
So it's and Darren Pang does the Chicago Blackhawks games. So and Jen's obviously on the HNIC, as Drew calls it.
HNIC, that's what everyone knows it as.
broadcast.
It's everyone.
So-
It's known far and wide as HNIC.
So they don't have a tremendous amount of familiarity with each other, but I don't know. I don't know about anybody else, but I can tell you right now, I found it to be kind of off-putting to listen to you'd hear the play-by-play, then the first color guy would come on, and the second one would come on, and it's like, what is going on here? There's a lot of chatter. Can't get into the game. So anyways, that's just my thoughts.
No, it's a fair take, Dave. I think the key with that is when you've got 2 color commentators, usually you see one behind the bench and then one up in the press box. I don't have to tell you that, Dave. You do color for the Manitoba Moose. You're the only one out of the 3 of us who's actually in the industry, as they say. But no, I think the key would be, you would agree, is that you're giving an equal amount of airtime, right? Like if you have too much of one person, or you kind of have
kind of like this.
I was going to say kind of like the show.
Kind of like us. Drew tends to dominate the conversation, right?
Well, that's what the people want. The people say they want more Drew. That's what I hear more often than not. Is we need more Drew. We need more Drew, or something completely the opposite of that. It's either or. I'm never quite sure.
I got a few thoughts.
Yeah, there you go. I'm sure you do have more than a few thoughts. In any event, the anticipation, like I said, growing here, downtown Winnipeg, Cityplace. You can see the mobs of people in the mall. There's a lot of excitement, and then outside of the mall as well. The people are out on the street, out and about. Beautiful day. Talk about a beautiful weather day. Perfect weather for a whiteout.
Got my 10-kilometer run in this morning, Drew. It was fantastic.
You haven't gone for a 10-kilometer run cumulatively in the entirety of your
drive.
Life. Yeah, that's right. You don't have enough gas to drive 10 kilometers. Never mind run 10 kilometers.
Oh, take the takedown legend has it.
I got to say, though, guys, like you mentioned, Drew, we've done a lot of playoff rounds. We've been doing this show for over 15 years now. It never gets old to see the Winnipeg Jets in the playoffs during a home game.
Yeah.
And, driving or walking around the city. I was at Assiniboine Park earlier this afternoon, and you see people wearing white Jets jerseys or just, white hoodies, whatever. It just never gets old. It just always puts a smile on your face. It's really just so great for our city and our province's morale. Obviously, we want the Jets to beat the Avalanche, right, everybody? Let's hear it. Let's hear it. We got lots of Jets fans right here. So obviously we want a Jets win in round 1 versus the Colorado Avalanche, but it's just great for the city's morale. Just great for the city to see. We've got a great city. We know that. You're just seeing the best of our city right now with everybody getting behind this team.
There you go. Well said, Ezzy. I'll tell you what, let's take our final commercial break. When we come back, Ezzy's given his predictions on this series.
Yeah, we have not.
Dave and I haven't. So maybe we'll cut Ezzy's mic and Dave and I will give some insight into how we think the
Jets and 6. Jets and 6.
We know. You said it already.
Well,
you've said it multiple times.
A lot of people here don't know.
That's fine. Well, maybe we'll give Ezzy an opportunity to say it again. We'll come back. We'll give some predictions. We'll get you set for the rest of the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche coming up in about 30 or so minutes time. It's It's the Illegal Curve pregame show. We're live at Cityplace and on all of our social media platforms.
You guys ever wish for a game changer in life? Like finding out your favorite snack has 0 calories?
Or discovering the mute button on Ezzy?
Picture this, a secret weapon for parking, where you can book a spot a whole month in advance.
Tell me more, Drew.
Pre-book your parking at really low rates, or maybe even for free if you use the code Illegal Curve.
Free? What is this, sorcery?
The Grid Park app. It's a real secret weapon that has affordable game day parking, and to sweeten the deal even more, I love sweets. Our listeners can use the code Illegal Curve to park for free. Holy Zamboni! Tell me about it. Just download Grid Park, GRYD Park, and use the code Illegal Curve, all one word, to park for free. Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer, Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer, Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Your coworkers love you because you always make them laugh. You're the life of the party with stories that have them rolling on the floor. Or maybe you're just the quiet one in the corner with the one-liners that just slay. Do you have what it takes to become Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job? Try your luck. Hit the stage at Rumors Comedy Club, and you could be walking away with $1,000 cash. Winnipeg's funniest person with a day job. Presented by Rumors. For all the details, head to rumorscomedyclub.com.
The game can change just like that. Accidents happen when you aren't protected. So now what? Getting to your injury quickly can make all the difference. Help prevent them from being game changers with Linden Market Dental Center. Bonding, crowns, bridges, and dental implants. State-of-the-art treatments are available to help you get back in the game. To learn more, visit LindenMarketDentalCenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
It's all over, folks, and the run has come to an end.
You've been so far away.
A Canadian team hasn't won the Cup in over 30 years.
And the Cup will stay south of the border.
Maybe it's time we try something different. This playoff season, let's cheer with the fans we've always cheered against. Team up for the Cup at Boston Pizza.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Bottom of the hour, welcome back. This is the Illegal Curve pregame show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. The anticipation growing. The crowds are getting ready for puck drop between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche. Game 1 coming up very shortly in about 30 or so minutes time. And of course, after the game, be sure to join us on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms. Just search at Illegal Curve on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can scan the QR code that's on this poster right behind us here
Blue
at
Sky.
Cityplace.
What does Dave also have us on? Vanilla Sky?
No,
What's it
that's
called?
Blue Sky.
Drew got us on Blue Sky. I
did.
followed the trend.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to hold on to it so that if it became popular, we would have it. But in any event, scan the QR code and join us for the post-game show.
We're big on Threads.
Well, Threads too. Yeah, there you go. For the post-game show following the Jets and the Avs, and then the pre-game show again coming up on Tuesday before Game 2 of this series between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche.
It's going to be my quickest ever
for Passover Seder? I'm going to get to, just
4 questions.
I'll have my gefilte fish, maybe a little matzo ball soup, and then I'm going to head down here with Drew.
There you go. We're looking forward to it. Game 2 between the Jets and the Avs. But, of course, Game 1 still to come in about 30 minutes' time. As he's on record already saying the Jets in 6. He said that yesterday on the Illegal Curve Hockey
I'm pretty sure I said that 2 weeks ago, right, Dave?
Well, you may have. He reiterated it again today here on the Illegal Curve pregame show. Dave and I have yet to give any prediction, so I'll turn the microphone over to my colleague on my right, Dave Minuk. How do you see this series playing out between the Jets and the Colorado Avalanche?
Yeah, I really want to say Jets in 6. I'm almost inclined to say Jets in 5 now with the Drouin situation.
Right.
I'm going to stick with Jets in 6. I feel like that's a safe one. I think the Jets, like I said, there's just something about this team right now, and we've watched this team. We've covered them every single day. We know what this team is like, and when they, whether they're a paper tiger or whatever it is, Drew.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the case. I think this team is the real deal. I still think Nathan McKinnon is Nathan McKinnon. I think he could probably bring his team to 1 win, maybe 2 wins alone. But ultimately, I have the Jets winning this series. I think it's a 6-gamer, and that would be my guess.
I hate to make it all unanimous, but I tend to agree with both of you.
Don't say Jets in 6. Come on, Drew. We need something different. We need something.
Okay, I mean, I can say something different if I don't
but
really
is that
believe
extra
in it.
game though? Okay, sorry, Drew, but is that extra game not just really because of the respect you have to give Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen,
Yes.
Cale Makar, Valerie Nichushkin,
Yes.
Arturi Lehkonen? Like, this team has a lot of good players. Devon Taves.
They have a Stanley Cup champions pedigree, so it's hard to believe they would go out meekly.
In 5, yeah.
It's really the goaltending. Look, we've talked about the interview with Craig Button a lot yesterday, and it was a great interview for anybody who hasn't listened to it. Check it out on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. But Craig himself, and I was saying this to you guys prior to the trade deadline, Craig mentioned, why did the Avalanche not acquire a veteran goaltender at the trade deadline?
Right.
Because they need insurance. And look, Alexander Georgiev, he might be great in Game 1. I'm not expecting it because just recency bias, he hasn't been very good lately. I think the Jets are going to score 3 or 4 goals tonight. I think I'm going to go with the 4-2 Jets prediction, like Dancing Gabe before the game.
I was just going to say, people were asking if we're too similar right now in terms of our predictions, maybe we should do score predictions. And I was going to throw out the fact, but as he just did.
Look, guys, I can't
said
say it's going to be 7-0 like it was in Denver 8 days ago, right? I think I just have too much respect for the Avalanche. But to Drew's point, I think it's tough to say 5 games just because this is a team that won the Stanley Cup just 2 years ago.
Right.
Even if they don't have Nazem Kadri and some of the other good players that they had for that run, they've still got 3 of the best players in the world.
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to add quickly is just this idea of what this Jets team, like I said, I've watched them, we talked to them, I think they're motivated, and I also think that last year, how it ended, I think that definitely plays a factor as well. So this team doesn't want anything to happen. They don't want, look, Rick Bowness said it 2 days ago when we were talking to him at Hockey for All Center. He said he spoke to the team, and he said, just go out there and play your best game. If you go out there and play your best game and you lose, that is what it is. But just leave it all out there. Play that game that you know you're capable of playing. And you got to say that, again, like I said, if this team is capable, things have worked out well. You can say the Colorado Avalanche are X, Y, or Z, but ultimately the Jets played them very well. They've played, like we said, 7. You want to discount the regular season, but you have to look at it. You have to look at what's recent. It's not like this was, we may not look back at the victory in November, Drew, but this victory was 8 or 9 days ago.
Right.
It wasn't like it was 6 weeks ago. So it wasn't that, and even if you want to discount the 7-0 game, you say that is what it is. Colorado hasn't played good hockey for the last little bit.
Last month or so.
And the Jets have been playing very good to transition into this first round series.
There you go. It seems unanimous across the board. The Jets in 6 for all 3 of us.
Did we get Tim's prediction? I don't know if we got Tim's prediction.
He already unplugged his mic.
He already unplugged his mic. So Timmy gets to sit on the fence, and that's okay. Big shout out to Tim, producer Tim here, making us sound good here live at Cityplace. As
Tim
you
can
all
definitely
know.
not go to Australia anytime
No,
soon. When Tim went to Australia, we definitely our anxiety levels raised up.
That's right. Tim is an expert. He's a production master. He knows how to make this show go off seamlessly. And so we want to give producer Tim a shout out here, everyone here that's listening at Cityplace, and all you who are listening on our social media
And Tim
platforms.
isn't single, by the way, ladies. So
thank you, Ezzy. I'm sure he appreciates that. This has been great. It's been a ton of fun. We're going to do it again on Tuesday night here at Cityplace. Want to say a big thank you to, of course, Cityplace for inviting us down here and making this all happen, making this come to fruition. So we'll do it again Tuesday night before the Jets and the Avs, before Game 2. We're going to all do it again later tonight back in the home studios for the Illegal Curve post-game show. So we're going to break this all down, go our separate ways, and get back together after the Jets and the Avalanche to talk about Game 1. Be sure to join us on all of our social media platforms at Illegal Curve. Basically everywhere you'll find us, nice and easy. Be sure to subscribe, and always, that way you'll know when we go live each and every time, so you won't miss a second of any Illegal Curve broadcast. Big thanks to all of you here at Cityplace for joining us. The game is in about 25 minutes time, so we'll let you all head that way. If you're heading to the arena, you're heading to the whiteout parties, wherever you're heading, we hope you have a great night, and you hope you have fun and be responsible and everything else. Big thanks to all the vendors here at Cityplace for inviting us as well. We'll be back Tuesday with the Illegal Curve pregame show. We will be back later tonight with the Illegal Curve postgame show. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. This has been a special edition, the Illegal Curve pregame show. Enjoy the Jets and the Avalanche, and we'll see you for the postgame in a few hours' time.